Oh my God, are we gonna make our parents cry on this episode?
I feel like a fortune cookie right now. I just keep on like sprinkling all these little.
So without Harvey Dent, I wouldn't have this straight bro moment with you and talk about Marvel and DC.
Was kind of doing a little Troy Bolton thing.
And then you said you got to get your head in the game.
You started the relationship on the premise of a lie.
Well, wait till December. We're gonna blow Mariah Carey out of her fucking ranking.
Robin, oh, it's got to be like you're the number two man. Like you're never the first choice.
I'm going to go on record and say we are psycho bitches. Like,
I can't do this anymore. We're done.
welcome to Unshut, a place where if at any point you feel like you need to shut the up, don't.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, does the sound good? Am I too loud? I have you hooked up to an actual mic right now.
No, it sounds good. Give me 2 seconds to get the camera going, and I will join back in 2 seconds, okay?
Awesome. Sounds great. Hey, what's up?
Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, it sounds good. How's your day going?
Awesome. It's great so far, man.
I'm not gonna lie, I was not working on the camera. I was just checking my sweat because it's fucking hot.
All good. I understand. How you doing?
I'm good. Are you ready to get started? I'm already recording, so we're good to go.
Yep, I'm ready to go.
Amazing. Well, welcome to Unshut. I'm super excited to have you because you've been on my radar for several weeks now, but I've been waiting for the next wave of invites to wrap up some of the other guests that I've had scheduled. So I've
Mhm.
been dying to email you for a minute. So
Well, I'm so happy that you did. I'm happy to be here today.
amazing. You're in Nashville, right?
Yes, Nashville based. Yes, sir.
Where are you originally from?
So I'm from Kentucky, actually, really small town called Somerset. Have you ever heard of it?
Never.
Super tiny. So if you're familiar with Lexington, Kentucky, it's about an hour south. But yeah, sweet little town. That's where my parents went to high school. So we just never left. But yeah, once I graduated, moved here. I've been here since like 2020. Went here for school. So yeah.
Are you all done with school now?
Yes, yep. I graduated last spring actually, a year early. I went for like audio engineering and songwriting to Middle Tennessee State. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like 45 minutes from Nashville. But now I'm like officially moved to Nashville. I got a place here. So everything's really rolling now.
So how long have you been in actual Nashville now?
So I've been going to Nashville for, I mean, since I was like a junior in high school. It was kind of like if you wanted to do music, there's not really like a scene outside of like the bluegrass scene in Kentucky. So I was coming here a lot and recording like on weekends and stuff around like football practice, all this stuff in high school. So I moved to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is about 30 minutes from here for school, and was literally driving here 4 or 5 days a week. And I was like, there came a point where I was like, dude, I'm spending more time driving through traffic to get to Nashville to do what I went to school to do. You know what I mean? Like I went to school for music stuff and like school was the one thing keeping me from it. So once I graduated last spring, I officially moved here for the time being. Let's see, I guess it would have been back in the fall. So yeah, August.
Not too bad. And you said Kentucky. So the only thing I know about Kentucky is football and cheerleading. That's like all there is. Was your small town like that as well? Just football and cheer?
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I swear, like every year, there were like every cheerleading team, or I don't know the word for it, but like they'd all go to nationals. Like that was such a big deal. And it felt like it's just like super powerhouse, like in the area. So when there's nothing else going on, I guess high school sports are like everything. So yeah, it was definitely king where I'm from.
Well, I mean, I don't know shit about football, but fun little fact, I actually used to work with some of the top athletes in cheerleading and gymnastics for a while. And so a lot of them were from Kentucky. So it's really all I know about Kentucky is cheerleading. So
That's awesome. Yeah, dude, it's definitely a huge thing. My best friend's mom, she's a cheerleading coach, and it's just like that's the whole culture. Like, it's insane. You wouldn't think, like, I feel like on TV and stuff, it's so glorified. Like, the main sports, like football, baseball, basketball, like, that's what everyone talks about. In Kentucky, like, it's a very serious thing. Like, the cheerleading is definitely like a mainstay.
did you do anything outside of football sports related?
Yeah, I played basketball growing up until my sophomore year of high school. I was kind of doing a little Troy Bolton thing. I was trying to be in the musical and also do basketball, which is like in the same season. And I'd literally have my like the musical director interrupting my basketball practices, asking if she could borrow me for a minute. It was so embarrassing and just so much back and forth. And at the time, I wasn't really pursuing music yet. I mean, I knew I could sing decently, and my mom made me take voice lessons. Thank God for her because I wouldn't have pursued this stuff if not for her. She saw it before I did. But yeah, I thought I was going to the NBA or something. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm like barely 6 foot tall. So, but yeah, she really encouraged me to do the musical. And actually, that wound up giving me enough confidence to be like, it was something I was so afraid to do because I had my identity wrapped up in being perceived as like an athlete. And I was like, oh, if I do musical theater, like I'll lose all respect from the people that do these other things. But really, actually, what I found is that people respect you for being good at things. They don't really care what you're good at. Like people respect you for owning it and being great. And no one's going to give you a hard time if you're great at it. So I found out that that came much more natural to me. And for a while, I thought, oh, I want to be like, I want to do musical theater when I get older. That's not true at all. I very quickly found out I just enjoyed performing. But yeah, that was like the gateway for me getting into all the stuff I'm into now. So thank God for that. It was awesome.
And then you said you got to get your head in the game. Now,
Yeah.
this is right. No, that is
Yep.
so badass. I actually was looking at some of your photos from like theater and stuff, but I thought that was the coolest thing. And so I was curious to see what other sports you had been involved in because for me personally, like I was an athlete as well in school. And I've talked about this before. The one thing I regret not doing is pursuing something like performing arts when I was in school. I was just too in my head about it. I wanted to try all the other sports, trying to fit in, trying to be cool. And so I love that. When it came to theater, for example, I know you did football for a while. How quickly did you start theater? Was that just in high school or did that also start in like middle school?
So I'm a pastor's kid. My mom's a youth pastor. So growing up in the church, she would do like little Christmas musicals and stuff, and she would always force me to be like a lead in those. Outside of that, I never really pursued it beyond until I was in high school. She told me I had to do it at least 1 year. She's like, if you hate it and want to quit, then you can do that, but you have too much skill and too much talent for you to let like the fear of what other people think hinder you from finding something you may love. So I tried to hide the tryout date from her, but she found out literally like the day of. I actually had a voice lesson. We're very fortunate. I'm from a really small town, but we had a Berkeley grad that taught voice lessons in our area. So really fortunate to have her I believe it was every Thursday we'd have lessons. So the auditions were Monday through Thursday, and I almost got away with it. It was Thursday after school. My mom took me to voice lessons because I couldn't drive yet. And my voice teacher, Maria, she was like, Chase, how are musical auditions? Everyone else has told me about theirs and you haven't mentioned it once.
Oh
And
my
my mom,
God.
dude, her eyes were like saucers, dude. She was like, you didn't go? She's like, I told you you had to go. So she literally, we leave there. She drives me in there. I didn't know. I didn't fill out an audition packet. I didn't fill out like anything. I had no songs prepared. I went in there like blindly and was so mad. I was almost on the verge of tears. I was so like embarrassed and frustrated at the situation. And yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, it all started from that. And then, dude, I was so like reluctant the whole musical season about like everyone knew like I was, when you're that age, you don't have a lot of world sense and you think everything's a bigger deal than it is. And you're super embarrassed for no reason, just immaturity. But yeah, I feel like everyone that was there kind of knew that I was being forced to be there. And I wish I could go back and change that. But the week of the show, when everything started to kind of come together, I really became appreciative of the experience and like the team effort of like, oh, if I mess up my thing, it's going to mess up this person who's a senior and like this is their main thing. And like, I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with the people and the process of it. And literally, like, I swear to God, dude, like my whole mentality on life like shifted from that because I was like, dude, how many things have I missed out on from just putting my head in the sand and being like short-sighted and being ignorant? Like, I don't know. It literally just like opened a whole world of opportunities for me and possibilities. So I just started saying yes to things. And my life has literally been dramatically better, my quality of life. And I've found out more things about myself. I can't even imagine what I'd be doing if my mom didn't make me do those things. So
Well, I mean, definitely two things. One, I'm glad you say yes to a lot of things because you said yes to this. So I'm grateful for that. And then two, I want to backtrack a little bit because you talked about being a pastor's kid, right?
yeah.
I want to talk about that because I feel like which is a fun fact I didn't know. I think there's a big misconception on coming from a religious background and having no parental support in what you're
Mhm.
doing, something like music. And it sounds like you come from a very supportive home when it comes to pursuing this. And I love that so much because this idea that you can't be the pastor's kid or you can't come from a religious background and pursue something like music, just music in general, is just so whack to me. And so let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, it's definitely a unique experience growing up. You have completely different expectations than like your peers, like things that my parents, like even in hindsight, they talk about all the time. Like we were maybe a little harsh on you in some areas, but it's because they're concerned with how that may reflect on them and like the institution that they stand for. And so at the time, that stuff used to bother me a little bit. The older I get, the more I understand their perspective. But I'm very fortunate that in spite of all of that, like music was one area that they always really encouraged me to pursue. My mom actually, she was always really she's a bit of a worrier, but she was really worried when I went to like a secular state college. Like, not that she was worried about me, but she was just like concerned, like, oh, is this what God has for you? And I think that was a learning process for her too, to realize that she could trust me and know that I'm praying over it. Like, I'm trying to make the best decision for me. And at the end of the day, like as a parent, if there's any parents listening right now, all you can do is set the example. Your kids are going to make the choices that they're going to make. How they respond to the world, that's up to them. You just got to do your job and be there when they let you in. And you just got to pray that they're going to make the right choices. And if they don't, they're just going to learn from it. But yeah, I'm super fortunate that my mom was always really supportive and encouraged me, because I know a lot of people that's very taboo, especially like in the secular world. Like my mom was paying for me to like record my singles and stuff. Now, obviously, like we had rules about that, like, oh, the song has to be clean, blah, 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 blah. But I don't even say things like that anyway. So that was never a problem. But yeah.
I think that's so beautiful to talk about because one, nowhere in my notes did I have that to be a topic, but I think that it really does build. And like you said, for any parents that are listening, I think it also builds a foundation that comes with compassion and acceptance because
Mhm.
I know that with my mom, she was very, heavily into her faith when I was younger. And the secular world was something that was a little bit scary, but it also provides us the understanding that parents only know what they know. And we are absolutely no one to punish our parents for only knowing what they know, but out of what they know, they truly just want the best and what's safe for us. So I love that.
100%. It's all out of love. Like, and they're learning too. Like, that's the crazy thing, is like we think that we're experiencing all these things and like it's so fresh to us. But like on the opposite side of the spectrum, like that is like I'm the oldest. So like I was their first everything. And so, when you think about something as precious as like your own child, like obviously like you care very, very deeply about them. But I don't know, I feel like parents deserve a little bit more compassion. I feel like they get kind of like crapped on a little bit because of, I don't know, just the way, like if a parent, you get the label of like, oh, you're a helicopter parent, you're controlling. It's like, no, they actually just care about you, and they might not be going about it the best way sometimes, but like they definitely learned raising me. And you can see, like, we have this joke, it's like I've got two younger brothers, and like each one just got like a little bit less attention and a little bit less they were just a little bit looser with. And now the youngest one, he's a mess. But yeah, they definitely have like learned to loosen up a little bit. But yeah, got to give them grace.
I have to tell you, this truly is very validating for me because something I've talked about very consistently on the pod is I am very intuitive when it comes to having guests, and I only do invite only. I accept a couple inquiries depending on, the PR company that I've done work with in the past, but I do not have guests on that I am not connected in any sort of way. I kid you not, dude, just this morning, I was on my way to take one of my pups to pup care, and all I kept thinking about this morning was like, man, I need to text my mom and dad and just remind them of all the times that they went out of their way to try to do something to be right, to be good, to do something fun for us. And as kids, we totally shit on it because I've noticed that with my pups, I'm like, I will go out of my way to like take them for a walk and take them to the backyard and play. And then they bark, they jump on the fence, they act crazy. And then now I'm like, damn, I just went out of my way to make something fun for you, to give you love, and you shit on it. And so it's so funny that we're even on this topic organically because that was on my mind this morning. And I think the universe and God has a very clever way of aligning us to what we already know. You know what I mean? So I'm like over the moon about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, dude. I don't know. There comes like, I don't know, there's just like this level of self-awareness that you get as you get a little bit older. Cause I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll tell you this one thing. We can pivot on to something else after, but I feel like I should share this. But my dad, he's the president of my grandfather's company, and then he runs his own individual tax practice and coached all of us in all our sports as kids. And so he'd be getting up at literally 6 in the morning, 5 or 6 in the morning to go work out just to like fit that in with everything he was doing, because when you get off at 5, he's got to go run home, eat dinner really quick, then take us to ball, which he is coaching and has had to prepare for on all his break time. And then we get home and want him to play games with us and get in the floor and fight and wrestle and joke around. And it's like, dude, I can't even fathom like how exhausted he had to have been. But that just is more a testament to how much he loved me and my brothers and my mom, that he was willing to go that extra mile. And he literally never let us know. And we would complain about him falling asleep watching a movie at like 9 p.m. And it's like, dude, he's actually just exhausted from just like busting his tail trying to like provide and be everywhere at once.
Oh my God, are we gonna make our parents cry on this episode? Like I I feel like they're gonna listen in on this and be like, I thought they were gonna talk about music. What the hell
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
going on?
I know we're on a bit of a tangent, but I feel like that's a good thing to talk about. I feel like people don't talk about it enough. So I love my parents and I'm super grateful for them.
Literally 100%. My parents, I wouldn't even be where I am today without just even their love and support. And so, but enough about them. We can't make them cry the entire episode. So,
Yeah.
you made a post about one of your classes and how the assignment was to write one song a week. How many weeks was that in total? Just curious.
How many weeks? So it would have been for the entire semester. Yeah, we had to do a song a week. So it'd probably been like, I'd say we probably wrote like 15 to 20 songs in a week. But it's crazy though, because I probably wrote a lot more in that time because beyond the assignments, I was just like going to Nashville to get sessions like two, three times a week. So a lot of songs were made.
That's crazy. Which, by the way, in that post, you really did sound like Louis Capaldi. Do you know
Thank
what
you.
post I'm talking about
Yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah, the TikTok. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Have any of your original songs that are on your Spotify today started off as an assignment?
I don't think so, but closest thing would be I have a Christmas cover that has a bunch of streams from like it got a sync placement in some commercials, but I'm throwing that one out. That doesn't count. But my second most streamed song is called Cheers to My Teenage Years, and I actually wrote it for my high school graduation. So I guess that was an assignment. Yeah, it wound up like blowing up on TikTok and stuff. So that was cool. But yeah, that's the closest thing, but nothing from my college classes. No.
Why do you cheese about the whole Christmas thing? I'm just curious.
Because, dude, okay, I'll tell you why. I meet really cool people all the time. Go to a networking event, and I'm a small artist, like small writer. I'm independent. I don't have a pub deal, or anything like that. So I'm trying to make a name for myself, and you want to seem cool and like you want to gain these people's respect. And so everyone's trying to look really cool and have their own brand and their own image. And when someone's like, "Oh, you're really cool. Like you should send me your Spotify. Like I want to hear what you have out." And your number one song is like a Christmas cover from like 2020, it feels like you can be taken less serious, which I know isn't true. Like people know that, but like for me as an artist, like I kind of hate that that's up there sometimes because I'm like, oh, I want people to hear the new stuff, and I hate that it's like being overshadowed by the stuff that I think is a little corny sometimes. But I don't know.
I love it. And you know what? I hope one day, definitely, I don't want you to ever regret what you're thinking because I do think it's very valid. I can definitely tell in the way you were kind of like cheesing about it, how you're kind of like, it's a Christmas song.
Yeah.
But you know what? At least you're guaranteed to be streamed on fucking Christmas every year, okay?
Dude, I don't have to promote it at all. It's like a Christmas bonus. Like that's why I don't take it down, is because I'm like, dude, it's literally like I know I'm gonna get a $1,500 check in January, and it's like whatever. I can survive for the 4 months that it's like at the top of my Spotify after. The goal is, and this is what I was talking to one of my friends, one of my producers, they were telling me, they were like, you just got to find songs that beat it and bury it down the list. They're like, if you put out better songs, they get more streams. They're like, the more songs you put out, the more likely one of them's going to pop, and slowly that's going to move down to the bottom. So that's the goal. That's why I'm not taking it down. I've made it a goal. I'm going to try to get it, to try to outstream it.
I love it. Which, speaking of newer music, I'm loving your latest song. And I wanted to ask you just again to kind of shoot the shit a little bit. If you are not him, then who are you?
Well, yeah, dude, that's a good question. So that song, you know how everyone like that was like a big like phrase back in like this last summer, like fall. They were like, "Oh, I'm him, he's him." What happened with me actually is I had talked to this girl. We're dating now, but I was talking to her at the time, and we'd been best friends for a couple years, and I finally asked her out, and she said yes. And then after the first date, she basically called it off. And so I was like so confused by it because I had to work up a lot of courage. And I thought it was such a sure thing that she liked me, because there was a long period of time where I was very convinced that she was into me and I just didn't reciprocate. But then I came back around. I'm like, oh, because like this is great because now I feel what she feels. And then it's like, no, actually. So I'm like questioning literally everything. I'm like, what the heck? So like I was just in a blender and I was trying to like be like, okay, why would she not want to be with me? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, for some reason, I couldn't just accept that maybe she just wasn't into me. Like, I was like, oh, she probably wants someone that's more serious. Like, she comes from like money, or she comes from like a nicer family. And I'm like a freelance artist. Like, I resell clothes for a living on eBay to support the music stuff. And it's like very unconventional. Like, I probably couldn't give you the things that you want. And I think it's easier to believe that than to just like admit that, oh, they just like weren't into me. I don't know. But that's what the song kind of stemmed from. But yeah,
You want to know what's surprising me the most about you, Chase, is that whenever I do these interviews, whenever I interact with another artist, whether it's an independent artist or someone with a label or someone who has been in the game for over 20, 30 years, I never know what I'm going to get. That is the beauty of it because we're all human. So even some of the bigger artists that I've had on, they could have had the craziest, most shittiest day ever, and I never know what I'm going to get. And I think what I'm loving about you is that I had no idea that you were going to come with so much wisdom and with so much to share. And I'm like, dude, this is what unshut means. It's open, having an open mouth. You just let it all out.
that's awesome. I feel like a fortune cookie right now. I just keep on like sprinkling all these little.
That's what we're going to call you, our fortune cookie. We're not going to call it our Christmas cookie. We're going to call it our fortune
I'd rather a fortune cookie than a Christmas cookie.
cookie. That is awesome. Since we're already on the topic of music,
Mhm.
I have some questions for you, specifically in regards to your song SEC. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's obviously no secret I'm fucking gay, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
I know cheerleading, and we already established that I know more about cheerleading than anything like that with football, okay? Which, ironically, this is also what I loved about this song, which I'll share after you go. But
Yeah.
can you explain to those who do not know what SEC means? What is SEC?
Southeastern Conference. So it's a football conference. I grew up in Kentucky, UK, big Wildcats fan. But yeah, they play in the SEC with like Bama, Tennessee, Florida. It's just kind of like when you think of like the South and like the culture of the South, like in the US right now, it's like Saturdays are for football, like tailgating, partying, like that's what it is. And so like when we wrote that song, I was trying to actually, it's kind of funny, but I think it's interesting. Do you know 24K Golden? You familiar with that
Yeah.
artist?
Hmm.
So 24K Golden went to USC and he wrote a song called USC. And he was saying like when he first started out to get attention, he was like, I was trying to find a way to stand out. You know, he was going to USC. And so he wrote this song called I Go to USC. And he's like, I tried to write a song that could get me attention from the people that I wanted to be fans of me. So he was like, instead of just writing love songs like everybody else or writing a heartbreak song, whatever, he's like, or writing a rap song, like he's like, I tried to make something that catered to the audience that I wanted to like me. And so I was like, well, who would I want to like me? And I'm like, I would want someone I could be myself around. So when I think about that, I'm like, oh, I'd want to be around kids my age. Like all my friends are at like these big party schools. Like I want to make something that they be into. But yeah, that's kind of like was the inspiration for that. And yeah, it's a really fun song though. But yeah, definitely got some attention online for all the little SEC little innuendos in there and stuff.
No, it's one of my favorite songs on your catalog. And I think that's the irony about my question because I don't know anything about football, but I understood it so well. And so even though I wasn't a football player, I didn't know anything about tailgating, anything about college football or anything like that. I thought it was the coolest anthem song. And the message was so clear about, the whole chasing for cloud or gold diggers, whatever you want to call
Mhm.
them. It was so clear. And I think that's what made that song so good. Side note, I'm also cringing a little bit because not me wanting to cringe every time I have dropped the F bomb already because I'm like, are parents listening to this? I know my mom, every time she listens to it and my potty mouth comes out, I'm like, it's just because I'm nervous, I swear.
That's funny. No, it's no big deal. We'll put a little E on there, little parental advisory.
Exactly. No, but I absolutely love that song. And I love songs that are very targeted to a specific audience, but can also reach a wider audience. And I think you did that with that song. So good job on that for sure.
Thank you.
Obsessed with Leave It Where We Found It. This is a song that I immediately added to my playlist, and it's the one that for weeks I put on the playlist that I drop artists that I want to invite on. And so that's the song that I fangirled about the most. What version of you did you notice someone or others liked about you more, if that makes any sense?
No, dude, 100%. Like that's a very like personal song and I was worried that it would ruffle some feathers, but it was how I was feeling at a time. Like growing up, I feel like I had an identity of like I did music and stuff and like I would say number one, I was a football player and I was like the kid that did like musicals and stuff in high school. But it was like so much of my identity was wrapped up in my personality of just being like super confident guy, like I guess being like popular, whatever. It's kind of cringe to say that out loud, but like that's really like where my head was at. Like, and when I come home, it's like people want to cut up the same way. And it's like, I don't know, you guys haven't really talked to me in a really long time. And like I've changed a lot. And I feel like we keep hanging out because you remember how I was, but I'm not proud of the way that I used to be in all areas. You know what I'm saying? I don't like how I conducted myself when I hung around my football teammates. Like that's not who I am, and I don't want that to reflect. Like I don't know, I've just grown up and changed a lot and matured. In college, I've experienced a lot of new things, and I feel like when I go home, I kind of realize that they kind of haven't. And that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just the truth. And so I don't know, when we go home from break, we're all hanging out and it just doesn't feel the same. And I feel like they feel like they're obligated to spend time with me. And I'm like, hey guys, like if it's not there anymore, like let's just leave it there. So that's kind of what it's about. But yeah, to answer your question, I just feel like I've just grown up and changed a lot, matured. Like the things I joke about, the way I conduct myself, the people I want to affiliate with. I don't know. It's just a different thing.
Well, and I think that's also such an important topic too, because I know that that is what I loved about that song. It's not talked about enough when it comes to outgrowing people. And like you said, it's not a good, it's not a bad thing. It's just a neutral thing, an organic thing that happens. But I remember when I heard this song, it immediately took me back to a place where I was just starting to step out of retirement when it came to choreography. And I was starting to venture out in other businesses. And I remember starting to feel like going back to the performing arts as a choreographer, I was starting to not have so much in common with people. I felt like we didn't even want the same things out of life. They were so comfortable, and not that it's a bad thing, but they were just so comfortable with just continuously repeating their routine year after year. And that's something I just did not have in common with most people. I always have wanted to level up in any sort of way and never want my year to look the same. And so your song did that. I feel like it touched on a topic of outgrowing people and how it can be a good thing.
I appreciate that.
Oh, of course, dude. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep like stroking your ego when it comes to your songwriting because it's really like, and I think that's another thing that fascinated me about you was your age. One of your songs from 2020, and I'm blanking out on the name of it, but I believe it's your first one on Spotify. I'm not too sure. There is so much wisdom that comes with your writing. It doesn't matter whether you went to school for music or not. Lyricism is truly something that comes from within, and I think your execution is just spot on. And I'm 35, so
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. And I've been very, very fortunate to like work with tons of awesome collaborators here. I don't know if you heard of this songwriter before. He's definitely like famous in my circle in Nashville, but his name's Spencer Jordan. But he's really helped me a lot, bring a lot of this stuff to life. You should reach out to him. He has an awesome artist project too, and he's gay as well. So it'd be a fun conversation. But but he's just the best, dude. He's helped me write the past couple songs that I've put out. He's a super guy. But yeah, he definitely like I come in with the concept and he just helps me build it from there. But yeah, I'm just really fortunate. But I do appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the flowers.
Yeah, of course, man. Do you recall a specific moment during college? I want to talk about college a little bit more with you. Do
Mm.
you remember or do you recall a specific moment where you felt like, holy crap, I really am outgrowing a lot of these people that were in my past?
Yes. So my first semester at college, I was really hung up over my high school girlfriend. And she's a nice girl. Like it wasn't a good fit. And when I went to school, I was really, really, really tore up about it. And I literally felt so stagnant. I was going home literally like every weekend to see my old friends just to cope because like I didn't want to get out. It was during COVID too. So like every public event on campus was shut down. Gym wasn't open. I knew no one. My home's 3 hours away. So literally any chance I get, I'd drop and go. And I remember being so miserable in that time period where I'm just like, dude, I literally couldn't tell you something cool that's happened to me in the last 3 or 4 months. I'm literally emailing Spotify playlisters all day, trying to promote my stuff and sitting in my room and going to class with this mask on and just hating life. And I remember in the process of doing that, the only time that I would feel like myself was when I go home with my old buddies. But then I remember I made friends at school the next semester. I got plugged in with like a campus ministry, met some good friends. I also stayed in the music dorm. So like it was like year 1 through 4. So it was kind of harder to meet people that were could relate to me in the sense that I didn't know anyone. So I started going hanging out at the freshman dorm until I wanted to go to bed. And I started to really make friends then. And then once I did that and I started to realize like, oh, I actually can have a fresh start here. These people don't know me for this thing. Like the premise of our conversations aren't based on things that I did in the past or a way that they perceive me. I get like a fresh start here. And so I realized the content of the conversations were so incredibly different compared to what they were when I'd go see my friends. And it wasn't that they were even bringing it up. I was like, no, this is me when I'm not prompted by some previous expectation. And so I started to just realize I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was catering to the people around me previously. And so it was just like a cool thing. But I remember after that spring semester when I went back for summer break, that's really when I started to realize it slowly. I just started to notice like, all my friends went to med school at UK, or they're all super smart, like great guys, but they're all like, they're either going to be like lawyers or doctors. And I'm over here like doing this thing. And while they're still students. And I feel like I'm pursuing something that I don't actually know how to achieve. I don't even know what I'm trying to achieve. You know what I mean? Because there's so many ways that could happen. And so, they know they got to show up to class and they got to get certain grades and they're going to get paid this amount of money at this time. And like for me, it's not like that. And I feel like there's so much wisdom that comes with that and so much change in the struggle of like chasing something. Like you're literally like chasing a ghost. That's literally what it's like. You're digging for a diamond. You have no idea how deep you have to dig. So it's like feel like it gives me a different level of like maturity and like understanding that they just like don't have. And I feel like when we talk, like I can feel that and sense that. And I'd say literally the further along that we've gone, the more I realize it. Now I still love them very much, and I can still enjoy seeing them and like reminiscing. But yeah, we've just changed significantly. And I relate more to my friends here. And like when I come home, all the cool things I have to say sound like I'm just flexing. And it's like, no, that's just like what my life is like right now. Like I got to pitch a song to Post Malone the other day as a writer. And that's like a cool thing. But if I tell people that, then that sounds like I'm like flexing and it's not relatable. You know what I mean? But that's what my life has been. And that's a big thing I want to share. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, we're on different pages and it's just a different thing. You understand?
Literally the entire time you were talking, the only thing I kept thinking was I couldn't have said it any better myself. It's so true. It's like chasing a ghost. It's like you really don't know. And I think that that is also what makes this journey for me, even as someone who is, now entering this new venture with musicians and doing something like a podcast, going into something blindly also strengthens your faith. It can.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? This is why I'm so glad we talked about parents, because I think that foundation does also move over into our ventures now in the artistic realm. But I think that that is truly something that I've noticed. When you're going into something so blindly, you have two options. You either tap into your faith, into that intuition we talked about, or you can just go down a very crazy negative path. And so I couldn't have said it better. I love that a lot.
Dude, and honestly, I've done both. Like that's the thing. I was talking to you familiar with the artist Knox?
Yes.
KNOX. So he actually wrote on SEC, but his producer Cam Becker, we were hanging out the other day. We had a session and we were talking about like kind of like the artist gap. And it's like there's you when you first start, and then there's like the people that you look up to that inspired you when you first started. And that distance in between is the things that we don't know and the skills that we don't yet have, the things we have actualized. And the closer that we get, the further we realize that we are away, but the more peace we have with that because we're more aware that there's work to be done. I remember when I was in high school, like the first couple songs I put out, right now I have like 20,000 monthly listeners. That's okay. But like I remember I had 4 songs out like 5 months into making music, and I had like 85,000 monthly listeners. And I had no idea what that meant at the time, but I knew that it was more than all my friends. And so I was like, oh, once I'm done with college, like I'll like work a job and I'll be able to pay for more of this music stuff. Like it'll pop, whatever. And then I put out SEC my junior year of college and it did blow up. And I was like, oh, this is so easy. Like once I'm done with school, it's all out of the park. So like after SEC, I took a break for literally like almost a whole year and just started writing songs that are way better than what I'd had put out to that time. I started co-writing more, working with like way better collaborators. And I put those out. And guess what? Nothing. They've got like 300 views every time I post them. But it's so weird. At first, I literally was on like you said, you can go down a really negative path. I was because I perceived myself as something I wasn't. And this was even like less than a year ago. I thought I was more than what I was. And it's not a bad thing to realize that you're not. But I have a lot of peace now because I'm like, now I'm actually like starting to engineer. I'm starting to write for other people more. Like the better I'm getting, the more I'm like, I don't need to look back and regret the way that I felt or handled things because I wasn't ready. Like if I got the opportunity I thought I deserved, I would have squandered it. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't ready for it. And you know what? I'm sure in 6 months, I'll say the same thing about me now. But that's because I'm growing. And anyway, that's what me and Cam were talking about the other day. And it's like, you got to love the process. You got to really be in it for the long game if you want to win.
Oh,
So,
totally. And also the rejection that comes from it, whether anything were to come out of it with Post Malone or not, that is still such a cool moment that you can use as an experience to know what to expect in the future when you pitch to another artist. And I
hmm
think that that is also where we talk about like the beauty of that road you choose to take and
yeah.
the wisdom that comes with it. Some of the rejection that I have faced on this, literally being told by artists who aren't necessarily established and some that are very well established who have just flat out said, "Hey, I love what you're doing, but you don't have a strong following." And that rejection could easily take me down a path of wanting to only grow my Instagram. But look at the beauty of it. You still gave me your time to tell me no. That's a huge win for me.
Yeah, dude, it's all about perspective. The people that win in this game are the people that embrace that and don't take it personally because, like, dude, I tell myself this all the time. Like, for a while, I felt like a failure. I got offered a distro deal back in 2020 for way more money than I'm worth right now. Or not in 2020, I guess it would have been 2021. I wound up turning it down because I was still in school. And one of the stipulations was that I have to drop out. And I didn't want to do that because it was good money. But when you think about living in Nashville, it's like, well, that would have been enough money to pay rent. But if I wanted to do anything else, I don't know. And for a while, I was very resentful that I let the people that were in my life at the time talk me out of that because I thought once I start putting out this new music, everything's going to blow up and I'll be worth way more than that because they were offering me that 2 years ago. I wasn't nearly as good as I am now. And I was so pissed and I was so hurt about that for a long time. But I realize now that I will get those things eventually. I didn't have to have them then. I don't have to be regretful because, like I said, I wouldn't have been prepared to handle that blessing and I would have failed. And you know what would have been even worse? I would have been signing that contract with release requirements to put out 12 songs in a year. And I didn't even know what kind of music I wanted to make. You know what I'm saying? I was making completely different stuff. I had two demos. So it's like, dude, I would have been trying to rebrand with a fan base and it probably would have failed because I wasn't as good as I am now. So I don't know. You just got to understand that it's out of our control. All we can control is getting 1% better every day. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely. I love that so much. How do you feel post pitching to someone like Post Malone?
I feel like it's out of my hands. I've made it this far before in a pitch. I pitched a song to Bailey Zimmerman. This would have been like last spring, around this time last year, actually. I got an opportunity to pitch a song for Bailey Zimmerman, and they asked for the session files. And the producer calls you, and you're like, "Oh my god, like my life's about to change. This guy's doing stadiums with Morgan Wallen, blah 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 blah." And it's like, dude, I never heard from him again. And so I feel like the thing about this is like I've built such thick skin that like I'm mature enough if I'm told no, I can understand why. And instead of dwelling on it or blaming someone else for not seeing me for what I'm worth, whatever, it's like, no, I actually can just get better. Or maybe it just wasn't what they're looking for. So I don't know. It feels really cool to get validated and be like, I pitch a song. I know that they probably got 150 pitches from this opportunity because, they send it out like basically like a who's looking list. And they're like, oh, Post Malone, this is a beat that they really like, but they haven't written a song to it yet. They're looking for a hit. And I know that probably they're getting 200 songs, but I can listen to it and still be really proud of it and know that, I thought it was good before I sent it. And then when they're like, oh, we love it, can you send us all the files? Like I've been there before and I know that it doesn't mean that you won yet. So I'm not trying to count those chickens before they hatch. And I won't be mad if they don't. Like I'll be understanding. But I'm very like it's affirming and it's definitely like a blessing that I even got a shot to do something like that. And that they said it was cool. So to me, I already feel like a winner. I mean, obviously the bank account would reflect that if they decide to put the song out. But we'll see what happens. I'm really happy about it though.
Yeah, well, you said it perfectly a second ago. Perspective is everything. So I love how you're going into and out of these situations. I think that's very reassuring. And hopefully, someone listening who's wanting to one day do what you're doing can take some of that wisdom and also use that as one of their tools. I know personally we can't continue talking music without talking about Harvey Dent because this was a song that in your catalog I found after I emailed you. I don't do a lot of deep dives into artists, so I actually didn't even know that you had already worked with someone like Knox. That's a fun fact for me. I don't do a lot of deep dives because I want my audience to get to know you through my perspective and my angle, which by the way, all I kept thinking about when you said Knox was, will there ever be another collab in the future from these these two redheads. Like,
I wish he's like killing it right now. I'd say if you want redheads, you'll probably get him with Ed Sheeran before you get me with him, based on how it's looking right now. He's on the way up. So
he's also someone that's left me on red on TikTok. So I don't
mhm.
take it personally, but when you said Knox, I was literally smiling so big because I'm like, oh yeah, of course I know Knox. He left me on red on TikTok.
Dude, look, it happens all the time. I'll tell you this. This is kind of a cool story. Are you familiar with John Harvey? Another Nashville based. He's like a pop rock artist.
I'm not too sure, no.
He had a song called Bleach that blew up on TikTok, Bleach on the Rocks. But anyway, this is like back in COVID, but he's like super successful. He's a good friend of mine. We were fraternity brothers at Middle Tennessee. We were in ATO. He dropped out of school because he blew up on TikTok, yada, yada, yada. He was working with all these cool people. And to that point, I'd only been making music out of my bedroom, and working with the same engineer. The only one I knew. I didn't even know what an engineer was. I just knew he was the guy that produced it and made it sound good. And I remember when he was getting all these opportunities, he was playing me these songs that he was getting from these sessions. And John had no music out at the time, maybe one song, but like it hadn't blown up or anything. Like it was so different than what he's making now. And these things were blowing my mind. I was like, dude, how did you get this type of opportunity? And it was because he knew an attorney that had a network of writers that worked with her, and she was putting him in these rooms. But from my perspective, I was like, oh, I've got all this. Like, I'm great too. Like, well, I want to get in these rooms. And so I start messaging these people, and I'm getting left on red like crazy. And it's crazy because those people are the ones I write with now. Like literally, like Spencer Jordan. I remember DMing him, and like when you first start, like I used to write like these massive like books in the DM, like, oh, my name is blah blah blah. I'm from blah blah blah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Um, just being so green, like I don't know. People don't want like a business transaction, like they want to feel like they're talking to a friend. But at the time, I remember being so discouraged and like lost of where to start. And it's crazy now. And I was so not jealous, but I was like so aware that John was doing everything I wanted to do, but wasn't. Now I'm like, knock on wood, I've wrote what he's told me is going to be the lead single for his next album. So that'll be really, really cool and just like full circle. Cause I'm like, I remember wanting to work with y'all so bad and like feeling like, I was getting left on red and y'all weren't really interested in what I was trying to do. But I feel like with time and exposure, and it's funny, I'm like the same dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm the same guy that like messaged them. They left me on red. But everyone else is busy and a lot of people don't have the bandwidth for things and they got to decide what their time's worth. And I would just stick with it because he's a super guy. He'll get back. I believe it. I believe it.
All right, we'll manifest this together for sure.
Yeah.
Then I'm shooting for my next redhead on the pod.
That's awesome.
Something I wanted to do with you because I want to see how we can put your theater, your writing, thinking quick on your toes, how we can kind of shoot the shit together. That has become a very common thing on all my episodes is whether you're indie artist, new artist, established artist, I am developing this foundation of asking questions that you haven't been asked before, at least on record. And
Okay.
so something I wanted to do with you is in honor of Harvey Dent, I am going to give you some DC and Marvel characters, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind in regards to what that song would be about. Are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll kind of give you mine too, but keep in mind I wrote these a couple of days ago, so I've had time to sit on them. You haven't. So,
Okay.
all right, the first one I have is Poison Ivy.
This girl's bad for you. Like you've got it bad for her, but she's bad for you.
I
That's what it
love
has to
that.
be.
I love that. Mine was toxicity and spreading, like Poison
Mm.
Ivy. So I love that. Are you ready for the next one?
Yep.
Robin.
Robin. Oh, it's got to be like you're the number two man. Like you're never the first choice.
That's exactly what I have written down right there. That's amazing. Catwoman.
Catwoman. Oh, dude, I don't know. I feel like Catwoman would be like, I feel like she'd be this promiscuous girl that's just like you can't really get a read on her, but you're like dying to know her. I feel like it'd be like some kind of Latin guitar type song. I don't know.
Okay, it's crazy. It's crazy because I wrote down sexy question mark or sex
Yeah.
question mark.
Yeah, no, no, no. It's gotta be. It has to be.
Love that. Wolverine.
Wolverine. I don't know. I'm trying not to get too analytical with it because I was like, oh, Wolverine, he regenerates. Like maybe I don't know. I feel like Wolverine, someone that like just gonna tear your heart out.
Yeah, so I totally had claws coming out,
Hmm.
ripping you to shreds. So we're on the same page with that one too. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, dude, if you like hit a wall, you're gonna climb over it type thing.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
That's kind of cool.
Mine was Sticky Situations.
Oh, that works too.
I love it. Captain America.
Captain America, dude, it's got to be like some kind of country song. It's got to like, yeah, it has to be. I'd say like something super patriotic. I don't know.
I wrote something about the US or something about having a great ass.
Mm.
The last one I have is Joker.
Joker, dude, it's got to be just this kind of like twisted person, someone that like puts you down and gets off on it. I don't know. That's how I see it.
Yeah, mine was definitely more of like being looked at like a clown, someone with a
Mm.
painted face. And I don't have this one on my notes, and it's not DC or Marvel, but now I'm just curious. What would you relate to writing a song to if you were to do something about the Power Rangers? Just curious.
Also do something with the Power Rangers. I don't actually know. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Have you thought about it? Do you know what you do?
No, because it totally just came to my mind now.
No, I don't know. I could probably do a one-liner about Power Rangers, but I don't know if I could do a whole song about the Power Rangers. I'm not tapped in like that.
I love it. The only thing I could think of right now is maybe something about morphing into something greater or something like that.
That's cool.
Have you received a lot of feedback in regards to Harvey Dent from people that are Geminis?
Actually, no, surprisingly. I haven't really got a whole lot of hate on that one. Fun fact about Harvey Dent, that's actually my favorite song that I put out. It's funny because it's low key like streamed the worst, but it also was the first one I put out after like a year of like not putting out music. But yeah, no shade from Gemini so far, thankfully.
It's one of my favorites in your catalog for sure. And as a Gemini myself, I have to tell you,
I'm
we
sorry.
are. I'm going to go on record and say we are psycho bitches. Like, when I tell you that this song was my favorite, first of all, I'm like, Harvey Dent? I'm like, I don't get it. I hit play on it, and all of a sudden, I am like, okay, now I'm listening to it a second time, a third time, a fourth time. It's become my favorite song you have, but I'm like, it is too spot on. I am so bipolar. I will go from being the happiest to all of a sudden, like, I am pissed at the world, and my partner has to deal with that. So yes, I'm a Gemini, and I'm a true Harvey Dent.
Well, I appreciate the love for the song. Something crazy about that song, and actually it makes sense because this is a resounding theme. And I was warned this before I put the song out. People are like, you should call it Two Face because not a lot of people know who Harvey Dent is. That won't make sense. And I thought, I feel like calling it Harvey Dent's what makes it cool though. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's so many songs called like Two Face. I don't know. It didn't reach its intended audience, which I hate, but I think it will have its day eventually because I think that the songwriting on that song is just crazy. I don't know. It's my favorite personally. I'm kind of a nerd though, so I
I
might be biased.
love it. No, I don't think you're biased at all because it truly is my favorite on there. And I'll tell you this, I am so glad you went with Harvey Dent because I think once it does reach that audience that has that, oh, moment,
Hmm.
it's going to be the coolest thing ever. And who knows, since we're manifesting people like Knox coming on, I am going to tell you maybe Harvey Dent is going to make an appearance in the big screen one day and they're going to want your song on it. So.
Dude, that would be crazy. That would be pretty insane. Yeah, dude. This is the tough part about it. I feel like the reveal in the chorus happens like too in the middle. I don't know. Like there's so much like build up to it that it's hard to like retain people's interest in a 15-second video to get to the punch of like, this is why you should care that the song's called Harvey Dent. So, but the people that have, like, if you go, I think it's like a pin TikTok on my page, but there's someone that commented, they're like, wait, WTF, these lyrics are actually crazy. Y'all aren't listening. And like, I don't know, hearing things like that's really cool, especially when you're like, I had such high hopes for it. I was like, oh yeah, this is like out of the park. It felt like low hanging fruit to me. I was like, oh, I'll just tag like hashtag Batman, hashtag Harvey Dent, and it just like didn't get the love that I thought it would. But the people that have got it, they do really appreciate it. And I think that would be a dream. If they put it in a movie or something, that'd be crazy.
Absolutely. And well, just to validate you a little bit more, it inspired these questions with all these other characters that's going to make, I know, my episode with you that much more entertaining. So without Harvey Dent, I wouldn't have this straight bro moment with you and talk about Marvel and DC.
I love it.
So, in honor of your theater experience and Harvey Dent, okay, because I'm telling you, I'm such a fangirl for this song, okay?
Okay.
We're going to role play. So we're going to get our acting on. The scene is I'm coming out to you as a Gemini, and as a Gemini, you're going to break up with me. Let me know whenever you're ready.
Okay.
And just so you know, I've disclaimered this all the time. I'm not an actor. I don't do anything with this. So this is truly just, I'm just winging
Oh, I'm not either. I'm a bad actor.
it.
I got a funny story about my acting skills. My high school musical, they would always record and post like the recording of the production, whatever. I played George Banks my freshman year in Mary Poppins, and someone commented, they were like, George Banks has a gorgeous voice, but he cannot act. And like all my classmates, they had to disable comments because like people kept liking that comment and all this stuff. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. I don't know. It's so funny. I'm aware I'm not the best actor, but I gave it hell. I gave it my all.
That was amazing. Thank you for going along with it. I feel like those are the moments that make what I know I am doing so special because
Hmm.
I never want to insult an artist and have them come on and talk about the same shit over and over and over again. And had you have not named it Harvey Dent, I wouldn't have this much inspiration. So I'm so grateful.
For sure, dude. I think it's really cool that you're like finding creative ways to make this more interesting because yeah, dude, I've done like the Submit Hub thing or like people have reached out to write an article and it is a lot of the same questions. So this actually been really fun and like refreshing to actually get and talk about like just some fun stuff. It's neat. Thank you.
I, oh, of course, I love it. We're going to make our parents cry. You broke up with me. It couldn't get any better.
The up and down, the highs and lows.
Exactly, the highs and lows. When can we expect new music?
You're the first person to hear this, but the let me go to the calendar. It's the 28th of Friday. It's either the 26th or the 28th. It's 2 Fridays from now, but it's the best song I've ever made by far. I'm not trying to sound like any type of way, but in my heart, like, I really believe it's the one. Of course, I've been wrong before, but I'm so proud of it and I'm so excited to share
I thought I was the one.
it.
No, I'm super excited. I can't wait for it to drop. You said 2 Fridays from now, so that's so exciting.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to top that. So I'm like, this is the best way to wrap this up and to also hype that thing up because I think that that is what makes these things so exciting is that even people who do listen to your music, they're going to hear this and they're going to be on the edge of their seats waiting for the next 2 Fridays to roll on by.
Hmm. I'm excited too. So we'll see what happens. I'm about to start teasing it on TikTok probably early next week, probably Monday. So stay tuned.
Amazing. The last thing I have for you, Chase, is tell everyone where to stalk your life, where to stream your music, all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So if you want to keep up with me, everything's at Chase Cimala, Chasecimala. It's kind of a weird name, I know. I'm on TikTok, Instagram. I don't really get on Facebook, but if that's your thing, you can find me there, but you won't really hear much. Everything's under my government name, Chase Cimala, Spotify and Apple Music. Y'all stream me, check it out.
And stream Harvey Dent and stop streaming the Christmas stuff, all right?
Please, please stop. Well, I get paid regardless, but if you're just gonna try to support, don't stream the Christmas song. You could put that support elsewhere.
Well, wait till December. We're going to blow Mariah Carey out of her fucking ranking.
Yes.
Amazing, Chase. Thank you so much for your time. I've had such a blast, and I'll definitely
Dude,
be in touch.
likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. Take care, dude.
Yeah, have a great one.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, babe, I've got something I want to talk to you about.
What's that?
It's been really hard because I know we're going on about a year together, but I just don't even know. Can I trust you?
Of course. Always.
And you promised me you'd never leave me, right?
With some exceptions.
Something I've been dying to tell you is that night I met you backstage at your concert, I told you I was also a Capricorn, but the truth is,
No.
I'm a Gemini.
Oh no. Are you serious?
I'm so serious and I'm so sorry I didn't tell you.
Why would you lie about that?
I just really wanted to be with you because I love you and I love your music.
You are a Gemini. That's so manipulative. The fact that you lied, you started the relationship on the premise of a lie. I can't do this anymore. We're done.
That was perfect. Hey, if you've made it this far, don't forget to follow the socials on the screen or in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next week.